Hello, my art people. Today we are going to be talking about pop art. Today we're going to try a non-traditional still life, one that is inspired by pop art. So pop art is just kind of what it sounds like. It's art that pops out and also art that is relevant in pop culture. So pop culture means the things that are happening in times today. That's part of our pop culture. That's part of our current popular things going on in our culture right now. So art that was based in this time was based on things that were relevant in that culture at that time. And it usually includes things that have really bright colors, things that were shown in like comic strips where it's like super bam, wham, wow, really dark lines, bold outlines, and bright colors. It does not have a lot of value. So it's kind of the opposite of what our still life was. So I want to challenge you guys today, and we are going to do a non-traditional still life, one that is in the style of pop art. So the first thing that you guys need to do is grab a piece of paper. I would use the regular computer paper or free draw paper for this. It's going to be that thin, flimsy stuff. After you have your paper, you're just going to need a pencil, and you're also going to need the items that you want in your still life. So for this still life, you guys can be a little bit more creative because we're not drawing it realistically. So the first thing you're going to do is I would create a border depending on how big you guys want this. So I'm going to create a box really loosely. Remember, we're doing sketchy lines because I really don't want to make my pop art drawing that big. So I've created my box, and then now I'm going to pick my most interesting thing first, which I'm gonna say is this little vase with the flowers. If you guys have like a little pot, if you have a shoe or something like that, that might be the most interesting. And when you're drawing it, you are gonna look at what you're drawing, but it doesn't really matter if it's correct because as you guys can see from the examples, it's gonna be really on top of each other, really bright colors, and you're not really gonna tell what's going on. So I'm gonna draw my vase, and I'm gonna draw it super large and in charge and in the middle. Okay, you want your still life to be popping off the edges. So you can't even see the edges of my vase. I'm not worrying about value. I'm just worrying about drawing the outlines of my object. So it's very much the opposite of how we did the last one. Okay, I have my vase, I have my flowers, I have my first item in my still life. Okay, I'm gonna put a little shine on my vase because it's shiny. Done. Now I'm going to move on to my next item. I'm going to do my salt or pepper shaker thing. So when I'm drawing that, it's kind of a similar shape. So I'm going to put it in the background. I'm going to put it back here. You're still going to want to have something in the foreground, like this is all the way pressed up against the front. Something in the middle ground. Bam. Pepper shaker. And then lastly, I'm going to draw my apple, and I'm going to draw that kind of in the middle. So my apple's got the stem. And it's okay for things to overlap. They kind of should. It's going to make it look a lot more realistic if things overlap. Now I have a bunch of space back here. I can just put in random lines, shapes, patterns, things like that to fill the space because that's very much pop art. So I'm going to draw back here. I really liked how in the example they had almost like a tablecloth type thing. So I am going to steal that idea. And I'm going to draw just some lines. Great. Okay. And then back here, maybe I want to put some polka dots. And then maybe I'll put some up and down zigzag lines over here. Okay, we're going to get kooky weird with this because it's pop art. It's just supposed to pop. The most important part with pop art is that these outlines are outlined very nice and dark and that there's a lot of bright colors. So now I have my drawing. Show you guys big. Okay, I have my drawing done. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take either a black marker, or if you have crayons and you want to use crayons for this, you can use a black crayon. And you're going to outline everything. If you don't have a black marker, just use the darkest color that you do have, like maybe a dark purple or that. So I'm going to go ahead and outline my shapes really fast. Okay. So now I've finished outlining my drawing with my black marker, and now I can go ahead and add some more designs, add some more patterns, and really make my still life really nice and fun. I want you guys to kind of notice how I'm adding in my colors. I'm going to use markers and I'm going to use colored pencils because I don't want to waste all my marker color on coloring big areas with my markers. All right. Another thing you might want to do is if you have pencil marks that you don't want to show up, go ahead and take your eraser and erase some of those. So when you're starting to add your outlines with your markers, you're going to want to use all the different colors of the rainbow for this because, again, pop art is supposed to be really colorful and you're going to want those big, bold lines there still showing. Another thing that you can do is just fill everything up with a pattern. Different patterns is going to make things interesting. You really won't be able to tell what your items are, but it'll still end up looking cool, looking like pop art. All right, so I'm going to time-lapse this and I'll see you guys at the end. You see how I'm adding these lines and mirroring the curves that I see? This is going to help you make it look more like, okay, these are items. A little tip on how you can still make it look like an item. You're still trying to kind of mirror that line in your patterns, no matter what your patterns are, to try to make it look even more like an item. As you guys can see, I'm starting to fill in the colors with the different patterns and things like that. I'm going to fill in the rest of the empty space that I have left with my colored pencil. I just wanted to remind you guys that when you're coloring with your markers, you should hardly ever use just the tip of your marker. The tip of your marker is only used for like those little touch-ups. But other than that, you should be using the long side of your marker, this side of it. So instead of coloring like this, you're going to color like this. By using the long side of your marker, it gives you cleaner lines, it saves the marker, and it also gives you like a brighter color. If you want your color to be even darker, you're just going to go over it again. And you guys can see how much easier that is than doing this over and over again. And it's going to save you a lot of time. It's also going to save your marker quality. So here's my finished pop art still life. As you guys can see, I filled up the whole thing with color. The only white space left is my highlights. So that's the only white space I want you guys to leave on your papers. Other than that, everything else should be outlined in black. It should have color, either with colored pencils or markers. And you should have made sure that you used really bright colors and you overlapped your items in your still life. All right, so I want you guys to spend the next few days working on this. Take your time on it and go ahead and send me your pictures via Dojo. All right, well, have fun, enjoy, and have a wonderful day.